The Writing Center Discord is a little bit different than the average classroom Discord because it's a community that exists as a workplace as well as a classroom. So this is probably a little bit more fancy than the average class Discord will get. It's actually more fancy than my Discord for my non-Writing Center students is. But these are all things that you can do. But roles aren't just social. Roles also are functional. Let me show you some of the roles that I have in my English 1 Discord. To view your roles, if you click on your server settings, you'll see a section here that says roles. You can make as many roles as you want. You'll see that I have several roles set up here. One of them is instructor, and you can set the color for the role so that you can see how it's identified. One of the things that roles do is allow us to assign permissions to different kinds of users. So as the server owner, I have access to everything. I can do whatever I want to the server because it's my server. But we don't want everybody to have that same level of control over the server. So I have a role set up for my English 1 301 students. This semester, all of the classes that I'm teaching, other than the Writing Center classes, are English 1 and English 301, which means that all of my current students have this role. If I were teaching more courses than that, however, I would probably have a different role for each course, so that I could have some parts of the server that were set up for my English 1 students, some parts of the server that were set up for my English 2 students, and so on. That way, I could keep conversations separate between different students who were in different classes, especially for the things that were focused on class. If I had some like social or general hangout question chats, I might have those open to everybody. If we click on the little edit button here, we'll be able to see the name of the role, the color, some of the rules for the role, and most importantly, the permissions. The permissions that my students have are to view channels, which means that they can see the channels that are on the server and look at the conversations. They can invite people to the server, which in fact, they probably shouldn't be able to do, so I'm going to turn that off. They can change their own nickname, which is actually really important for our class because I ask students in my class Discords to have some variety of what they want us to be called, but also so that I can know who they are. So usually I ask them for the first name that they prefer and their last initial, so that I can know who they are, relative to the roster. There are lots of permissions here that we don't need to go into in detail, but they're all pretty self-explanatory. So you can go through and see, what do I want my students to be able to do? Or what do I want my students in this particular role to be able to do? So this is my current students. I also have a tutor role. And my AI tutors, when I have AI tutors for this class, have different permissions. I might, for example, want my tutors to be able to serve as moderators in our synchronous chat sessions. Maybe they need to be able to delete things that people post if people have posted things that are inappropriate, or move messages to a different channel. I can set those permissions here for tutors different from what students have access to. And as it happens, I used this same server when I went on paternity leave last year. And so I actually have an instructor role that gives a lot more permissions to the people who sub for me. It's a very small role, but it allows those people to be sort of functionally instructors in my channel. So you can create as many roles as you want. You can set your privileges for those roles however you want, and it allows you to have a lot of control over what different kinds of users have access to in your server. Once you have your roles created, it's easy to assign roles to those people. One easy way to do it is by clicking on their name over in the participants list, and then just clicking add to add a role. Once a student has a role, all of the rules that you've set for that role will apply to them. With a new server like the one we just created, pretty much all you're going to have is a general text channel and a general voice channel. So let me show you how to do some other stuff. To make things simple, I'm just going to create a student role for us. Under server settings, I'm going to go to role, create role, we'll call it student. We'll make it yellow just for funsies. Under permissions, this person has the ability to view channels, but that's pretty much it. We don't want this person to be able to do invitations. We do want them to be able to change their nicknames. We want them to be able to use channels. Simple enough. I'll also create a professor role. And we'll make it blue, just to make it a little bit more distinct. I'm also going to click this display roles members separately from online members. And I'll show you what that does here in just a second. I'll save those changes. If I open up the member list, you'll see that I just right now have my name set as my Discord username, which probably is not something that I want to be the only representation of myself to students. So instead of that, I'm going to change my name to Professor Geist. You'll notice that my name is gray, and I have a little crown next to me. The crown says that I'm the owner of the server. The gray says I don't have any roles assigned at present. So if I right-click on myself, I can assign the role of Professor. You'll notice my name has changed to blue, but more importantly, the category that I'm in has changed to Professor. When I set display role members separately from online members for professors, this made it so that now I'm in my own category as Professor, so that the students will always be able to see that I'm online, rather than just have me be one user among all the other students. You can do that with as many roles as you want. So typically, if I have an AI tutor, I have the tutor role set up similarly, so that students can see when I'm on and when the tutor's on, separate from all of the other users who may or may not be online at that time. So now let's talk about what we can do with those roles. By default, on your brand new server, you're going to have a text channels category and a voice channels category, and you'll have a general channel in each. There's nothing special about these categories. That's just the ones that they start you out with. And in fact, it's not usually how people use Discord, as I learned from some of my more Discord savvy students. If you look at my channel, for example, you'll notice that I have categories that have lots of different names, but under each of them, I have both text and voice channels. So group 1 here has a group 1 text channel and a group 1 voice channel. And that's really common. Keeping text channels and voice channels fully separate isn't how people usually do things. Instead, we can think about categories just as groups of channels. And so perhaps the first thing that I want to do for my new server is change the name of my first category to, let's say, course information. And instead of just having a general text channel here, maybe what I want is an announcements channel. So now I have a channel for announcements. Maybe I want to have a separate channel where all I do is keep important dates. And if I'm starting a new class, maybe I also want to have a channel in our course information called syllabus questions, where students can post questions about the syllabus. But all of these, I'm going to want to interact with differently. I probably don't want everybody to be able to post announcements. I probably don't want everybody to be able to post in the important dates channel, but I probably do want students to be able to post in the syllabus questions, but maybe with some restrictions. So let me show you some stuff that we can do using our roles that we've already created to make it so that we can restrict what students can and can't do in a given channel. So because we have different channels in this category that we'd like to have different functions, we can assign the permissions for them differently. If I right-click on course information and go to Edit Category, I have the option to set permissions on a per category basis. What I'll do to start out with is say that while anybody can view channels, not everyone can manage channels. Not everyone can send messages or post anything in these channels, in the channels in this category, or manage messages. However, I'm going to leave read message history as it is. If I hit Save Changes, that will apply these permissions to every channel in the category of course informations. I, as professor, can certainly post an announcement. If you ever want to know how your server looks to a particular role, you can go under Roles and say View Server as Role. So now that I'm looking at this as a student, you can see that I can see the message that was posted, but I can't post there myself. So that makes sense for important dates and announcements, but maybe it doesn't make sense for syllabus questions. Maybe that's something that I want to be different from the other channels in that category. So what I can do then is go to Edit Channel and Permissions. And as you'll see, it shows permissions synced with category course information. it's using the same role permissions as the category that it's a part of, but I can change that. I can say that students are allowed to send messages, but I can also use slow mode. Slow mode limits the amount of messages that a user can send. So if this is something where my idea is that I'd like students to be able to ask a question and that then I would answer it, I could say that students maybe have a 1 hour slow mode. Let me show you what that looks like. Once again, I'll view the server as a student. I still can't post in announcements. I still can't post in important dates, but I can post in syllabus questions. And you'll notice that now underneath my text box, there's a countdown timer. As a student, which is the way that I'm viewing this channel, I can now only post once an hour because of the way that I set the slow mode. Now that I'm no longer viewing this as a student, but as the server owner, you can see that slow mode is still enabled on this channel, but I'm immune. So students can make one post in this channel an hour. I can respond to as many as I like or post whatever I like in this channel, and it remains available as an archive. If we look at my class server, you'll see that I have categories set up for several different groups. As I mentioned before, I'll use my group categories informally. I don't have roles established for my groups, but I could very easily create roles for group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, and so on, and then assign those roles access to each of those different group categories. That would allow only the members of those groups to participate in those channels. I could then, if I wanted, use my tutor role to have access to all of those groups and all of those channels. Similar permissions exist for voice and video channels. The last thing I want to demonstrate is how Discord makes it really easy to address certain students or certain groups of students and to contact them directly. So I'm going to demonstrate this by bothering Stacy, one of our staff members on the Writing Center Discord. So one thing that I can do, if I put the @ symbol and then type her name and hit tab, you'll see that her name is highlighted there. Since I've pinged her, or used an @ mention, as Discord terms it, Stacy will get a notification that tells her that I've tried to get her attention in this channel. Depending on how Stacy has things configured, that may work by giving her a notification on her phone where she actually gets a message alert. It may simply pop up a little red circle on Discord, and certainly it will highlight as it did there on her screen. I'm going to ask her to ping me one more time. If I'm in a different server, I'll still get a little red notification dot that shows up on the server showing where somebody is looking for my attention. And there it is. Discord allows you not only to ping individual users, but also to ping roles. And there are some special roles as well. On this server, I'm the only user, but you'll notice I can ping myself if I so chose, Professor Geist. But I could also ping roles. Pinging a role will notify everybody who has that role on the server. It'll give them an alert, it'll give them a notification badge, it'll tell them that somebody's trying to call their attention. So it's something that is to be used carefully. But it's a way to make it easy, for example, if you have embedded tutors in your class, a tutor role will allow them to ping all of the tutors. For my stacked Writing Center classes, I have separate rules for each course level. So sometimes I need to ping just my 124 students, sometimes I need to ping all of my students. The special roles that Discord offers that can be useful are, first, everyone. And as it says, everyone means everyone. Everyone who has permission to view this channel will be notified. So this is a thing that you want to do sparingly because it can get irritating really quickly. The lesser version of that is the @here role notification. And when you use an @mention for here, this just pings everybody who is currently online. So this won't bother people who aren't on Discord at the time, but it will get everyone's attention who is currently logged in. So this has been a basic introduction to how to use Discord to communicate with students both synchronously and asynchronously. I hope you enjoyed it.